Today at the WSJ Cafe, we welcome two icons of American roots music, Emmylou and Rodney Crowell. They've been friends and occasional collaborators for nearly 40 years, but they finally got around to making their first album together. It's called Old Yellow Moon. It's out now, and they came here today to play a couple songs for us. Welcome and thanks so much.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having us.
So you two first met when you were in your 20s. What were
the
your
20s? I remember
not the
well.
20s, your 20s.
It seems like the 20s.
It seems like the 20s.
What were your first impressions of each other at that time?
Oh well, I first heard Rodney on a demo tape when I was picking material for my first album, and so I met his songs and his voice first, and I loved both. And then we were brought together in D.C. where I was working. The producer of the album, Brian Ahern, of my record, and this record that we did, had signed Rodney, and they came to D.C. because I was a working girl. I was working 6 nights a week, sometimes 4 shows a night in these clubs in D.C. And Rodney sat in at the Child Herald, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we also had some time at a friend's house to sit down on the floor, and he played me till I gained control again. And I said, yep, I was right. So, and then Rodney can take it from there about how it continued.
Well, first time I ever saw or met Emmy, is at the Child Herald, and I'm in the audience with Brian Ahern. We came in, and there's this willowy, beautiful woman singing like an angel on the stage. And, kept putting my chin back in its place.
Rodney.
True, Emmy. It's like, I loved Emmy from the moment I saw her. It was like recognizing, somebody I'd known many lifetimes.
So it's not only musical compatibility, there's also has to be a personal compatibility. That's what you're talking about here, just how you get along as people too.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you finally sit down to do this, to really work together on a whole collection of songs, and you've known each other for so long, but you still must have been surprised in some respects by each other. What surprised you about each other musically or personally when you got down to the work here?
I don't know, because I feel like even though Rodney and I didn't, see each other every day over those years, I've always felt that I really knew Rodney. I understood Rodney and celebrated Rodney, and but I had this big dose of Rodney, and it was great to just appreciate. I love the way Rodney plays guitar. He is, as a rhythm guitar player myself, I appreciate what that brings to a song, and so I really love just sitting around with him, just playing with the 2 guitars. And I always knew he could sing harmony, but I was really, blown away by some of the work that he did harmony-wise. But except for that, I always known he was great, so there weren't any real surprises for me. So, and he still really makes me laugh.
Yeah, I've known Emmy, all my life, and loved her like a sister. But then again, you're on the floor singing, and occasionally you can't help but go, I'm singing with Emmylou Harris.
Okay.
Talk a little bit about your process of choosing the songs that you're going to record for this new album. How do you go about it? Do you present favorites to each other?
Yeah.
Do you pick them based on lyrical themes, how your voices might work together in harmony on them? Talk a little bit about the process of narrowing down.
All of those things?
All of them?
Yeah. I mean, obviously we both brought songs. Brian brought songs, and I don't know. We had fun singing all of them. I mean, there weren't any really duds in the bunch, but gradually it became obvious which ones to coin a phrase that Alan Reynolds uses: shimmered. A song needs to shimmer with a vocal. In this case, it needs to shimmer with both vocals, whether it was a duet from start to finish, or whether it was the harmony shimmering and adding something to whoever was singing lead. Obviously there were songs that we knew to me was an obvious pick, like Bluebird Wine, because that was the first introduction to Rodney. That was the first song I heard before I ever met him. I heard it on a demo, and Rodney had never actually recorded that song. And maybe it was a bit of a nostalgic, sentimental pick, but it's also a great song. And it sort of goes back and saying, we're just going to give a tip of the hat to the beginning. you know. So
Right, and it was the first track on the album that really broke out for you,
Yeah.
Pieces of the Sky.
Yeah.
And of course, you sang the lead on that here on
yeah,
this recording.
we wanted to have Rodney sing lead. On
Well,
it.
we got a backstory on Bluebird Wine, which, you know, is Emmy and I were in a boutique in Westwood in L.A. where the record had just come out, and Emmy was in the dressing area. I'm kind of standing around waiting, and Bluebird Wine comes on over the
You know,
radio.
they pipe in music, you know.
And we were like, you know, that Tom Hanks movie, you know, that thing you do when they're hearing their record on and dancing
Yeah.
around. So Emmy comes out half dressed, you know, we go bouncing
Yeah,
around
that's right.
trying to, talking to the sales clerk about,
That's us.
that's me singing. Yeah, and I wrote that song. She's looking at us like, get out of here.
And Rodney said, I'm going to go spin my nickel.
So back when you were those kids running around LA, you know, you would never have cut a song like "Back When We Were Beautiful," which is on this record, which features the line.
Well, hang
We
on.
might have,
Hang
but,
on,
but I
because
don't think it would have had the resonance now.
the narrative is not from the point of view of the story is being told the narrator
someone who
is like
younger.
like a granddaughter.
Yeah.
Right,
How-
and let's also
yeah.
cite one of the lines though. I hate it when they say I'm aging gracefully.
Right, and
I
that's
fight it
what
every
that
day."
person is saying.
To
I
the-
mean,
to the younger
personally,
listener.
for me, I live with my mother, who will be 92 this year, and she kind of she is one of the most graceful, beautiful women and people, and but she's lived with me for 20 years now, since my father died, and I've seen what she's had to go through, how she deals with it so gracefully. And yet I know that the backstory is what she has to deal with, those everyday, how difficult it is sometimes just to get up and deal with the day. And I also know that every day she misses my father, because they had a father's best relationship, one of those very rare ones that, 50 years of marriage, and they were probably more in love the day my father died than when they first met on the streets of Pensacola, Florida. He was an officer training school, and she was just on a holiday with some girlfriends. They were both engaged to other people, and it was just love at first sight, and it was just meant to be. So I have, I think a lot to bring to that song as a witness. And basically, I think that's what that song is about. But it tells a story of where we're probably all heading, if we're lucky.
You talked a little bit about finding the songs you wanted and finding the way your vocals might fit together on those. I'm not sure if you can bring us into that process of singing together and molding each other's voices to each other. Is it instinctual? Are you finding the notes in the arrangements? How much are you adapting in the moment of the song, really?
We
Well,
don't do that, do we?
I was about to wax as if I knew, but maybe I don't.
Sorry.
I was a big fan and am a big fan of the work that Emmylou did with Graham Parsons. And when they would sing together, and I don't know if you or Graham or how you guys chose, but there were these melodies that would have an arc where you could sustain words or vowel sounds over several bars, which would give you an arcing thing. And when you put two voices together, the Everly Brothers would be, prime examples, as would be the Louvin Brothers, and in ways Lennon and McCartney sang that way, where they would get their voices together. And I'm often when Emmy and I sing together, looking for how we can take two voices to make one sound. They call it sibling harmony. And that's just instinctual.
Someday I'll get old